about it, we finally, and I mean, commend the chairman for calling this hearing. As Chairman Frank said earlier, we could have found a million reasons not to have the hearing. Matter of fact, I wasn't even supposed to be here, so that would have been a good reason not to be here, because I didn't really know the meeting was going on, hearing was going on, until I just was late picking up my papers from the last hearing, and we apologize. You probably all thought, there they go again. They're discriminating against us, keeping us waiting for this and all that stuff, right? But no, it was a holdover from yesterday in defense of Mr. Andrews. As you know, we had these votes that were supposed to be done yesterday, so we had to do them today. So all those conspiracy theories I heard probably mumbling out there, sorry they weren't true. It was a real legitimate reason for the delay. What was my question at the beginning? I think I was going to get to the question of since, oh yeah, I remember now. The fact that this hearing is held, and so therefore a dialogue has begun, a formal dialogue. What suggestions do you in the transgender community have as it relates to the attempt to educate Americans? I mean, this is something relatively new, coming out into the open. It's overdue, but it's here. And I think, one, we should pass laws and have people respect the law. However, is there any suggestions about how a dialogue in a broader sense could begin, so that education about the subject could be discussed? Do you think it should be in the workplace? Do you think it should be like an ACP type of thing, or do you think how do we start to get a dialogue going?
If I could just ask the witnesses to very briefly respond, as Mr. Hare's turn. Thank you.
Well, can we just say how much we recognize very keenly the demands on you all's time and what it means to have made time to discuss this topic today. We cannot tell you how important that is. This hearing in itself is a quantum leap forward on the public education front, and we appreciate that enormously. The other thing I would just say is how indebted we are to the corporate sector. It's wonderful to have Dr. Hendricks here today. The corporate world has really been such a leader on this issue. So many businesses have adopted proactively, voluntarily, wonderful non-discrimination policies, and they are our best spokespeople in any venues we can find to have more dialogues like the one here today with representatives from the business world, and a chance for the public to hear from people like Colonel Schwer and the other witnesses here today with their remarkable records of accomplishment and skills, and to see what we're missing out on, what our country's missing out on by not protecting those valuable workers.
Absolutely. As we are here experiencing this with you, and thank you so much for this, we go back to our towns, and we know that you are leaders in your towns. So one of the ways your question, I think I understand it pretty clearly. It's like, for those of us of color, how did they ever think that we were human after all? Met more of us. And how they met more of us was through the people who were more like them than like us. Translating that to this scenario, let us work together with organizations and you and your offices to get to know us in different towns. You have access to things and media people and community forums and town halls that we would be willing to participate with you in. So consider us a partner, I would say, and let's use both our people across the country, because there actually are a lot of us, and some of us have been around for a long time. It's just not always safe. So making it safe for us to be with you in communities would be very helpful, and we have organizations that you already work with as well, that we can make this even richer.
Ms. Taraboletti, did you want to ask something?
Just very quickly, the National Center for Transgender Education and the task force are ready, willing, and able to supply the people you need to talk to and organize those people to supply the expertise you need to have those meetings and get those dialogues started.
Thank you very much.
That is the Human Rights Campaign.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Payne. Mr. Hare is recognized for 5 minutes.
Let me, first of all, you thank us. Let me thank you for being here. This is long overdue. I appreciate your being here, and I appreciate the chairman having the hearing. Mr. Levy, I just want to take issue with a couple of things that you've said and just give you from my perspective, and then I do have a couple questions for the witnesses. You talked about this being a moral judgment and religious beliefs. Let me submit to you that a person that I've read a lot about a few thousand years ago, the people that this person hung around with, that he was the closest to, were people that nobody else wanted to associate themselves with. And I think we should remember that. I also think you said this is a moral judgment. From my perspective, being very candid, this legislation, it's a moral obligation that not only this Congress has, but this nation has. Because if this were a case, from my perspective, of a person being African American, and they were fired simply because of that, all heck would break loose. Can't do that. But somebody like the Colonel and the other witnesses that have testified here that have given so much to this nation, that seems to be okay to do. It is not okay to do. And when you said there are no simple solutions, sir, let me suggest to you that I could not disagree with you more. There are. It's called this Congress passing a legislation that bars this, that makes it simple. And the courts can figure it out, and one witness says, well, you can't legislate how people feel or how they think. That might be. This is America. But I believe we can legislate what is right and what is just and what is fair. And that is the purpose, I believe, of this hearing and of this legislation. So, with all due respect, I could not be more at odds with you in terms of how this is. And, I think the restroom thing and some of the other things that have been brought up, those are all situations that, we put people in space. And we can figure this out. You don't have to have, I'm not a lawyer, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect either. But you don't have to have a law degree. Yeah, sorry. I don't want to anger my chairman. I'm in trouble. But I just want to say to the people here, my sister lost her eye when she was growing up, and I know what it's like when people make fun of you. She'll never be, she's different. She ended up working for 35 years for one of the best surgeons in my area, and she did quite well. So, I'm sensitive when it comes to, and I cringe when I hear about, well, we just can't do this, no simple solutions, privacy issues. And again, I go back, sir, to say to you, this is a moral obligation we have. The last time I saw the Constitution read that every person was supposed to be created equal. It didn't cherry pick. I do want to ask the people who are here that have testified that have lost their jobs, and Colonel and Ms. Taraboletti?
Yes.
Yeah, I got that right. That's not bad for a guy without a law degree. Mr. Sanchez, as victims of discrimination, you've lost your jobs.
Quit bragging.
And as a Marine, I can't even top that. You've been victims of discrimination, and I don't know, and I will never know. I'll never know what that's like, I hope. How did you support yourselves and your dependents when you lost your jobs? How have you been getting by, and what do you do when everything you've ever had is gone simply because of something as mean-spirited as this?
Congressman, I guess I'll start. And once again, the people who came to my rescue were the people that everyone else thought would desert me. And so my colleagues in the special operations community recognized what I was capable of doing and the work that I had done in the past, and worked diligently to find work for me so that I could continue to support myself and make a meaningful contribution. Without them, I'm afraid I wouldn't be here today. So, again, it's thanks to them that they went